All right. There we go. Good evening.
Good evening.
So I guess Peter Calkins is here for half an hour or so.
Buonasera.
And where's everybody else?
Well, there are a few things going on in the world, so maybe somebody else is pissed
Oh,
off.
really? What's going on?
Well, the Red Sox just made a trade.
Oh, I see. Right. Important things. Yeah.
Actually, I don't even know if they did.
I had to cancel my evening and my weekend in Ukraine.
Yeah.
Couldn't go.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
No.
God.
My wife just said that they've taken over Lviv, which is way up near the Polish border, and you know her projects for the Canadian government took her to both Lviv and Dnipro, and she's just devastated by the people that she knew and worked with, and trying to help farmers improve their productivity. All that is just for
Well,
nothing,
and
basically.
Chernobyl.
They went.
Yeah, exactly. Chernobyl. Yeah.
Joe, you have a unique perspective from being in a different time zone, or different place, and different view on all this, and perhaps different news sources. Do you see can you shed any light on what's going on in Ukraine that would give us any sense of anything other than total depression and disaster and irritation and anger?
Not that I don't know particular perspective from Bangkok in Asia. I mean, there's been a lot of, I think, pretty good writing about Putin and Russia generally. I think it all comes down to to Putin's vision,
Right.
and so that's scary because in China you got Xi Jinping, who's also a megalomaniac.
That was one of the things. One thing.
History.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, it's particularly the Chinese reaction and the Chinese element in this whole equation.
Chinese, I mean, what's going on in both Russia and China really is it's taking us back to the age of imperialism, 18th, 19th century. Russia, launched, an imperial invasion of all of eastern northeast, Asia across the north. The Manchurians, having conquered China, launched an imperial adventure across Central Asia, what's Turkestan, Tibet, and Mongolia, and actually Korea and Vietnam, and they had some outposts in Taiwan because some Ming loyalists escaped to Taiwan, but they didn't really occupy Taiwan. Anyway, these are and the Europeans did this in the Western Hemisphere. Europeans went across the North American continent, created this thing called the United States, when I finally got to Hawaii. But, it's now that the 2022, we had World War II, we had the end of colonialism, we had the Ottoman Empire and other empires and the British Empire were all dismantled, but the Russians and the Chinese are still in imperial frame of mind. They're both land-based empires, which are different from the U.S. is a land-based empire, so it's held together. The British was basically and water or naval-based. So anyway, Putin wants to restore Russia's glory, and he's got this this whole historical thing about Ukraine and Kiev being the soul of Rus, the Russian Empire. And so and so he's a megalomaniac. He's got economic problems at home, nothing better to do than start a war to keep people, your domestic population from rising up against you. And the Chinese are going to be running into very serious economic problems too. So,
I'd like to respond
Chinese talking all the time about
David.
sovereignty. You talk about Mongolia, Tibet, or the Uyghurs, and the Chinese will say sovereignty, sovereignty. That's all part of our country. You can't talk to us about it.
Yeah.
But you haven't heard the word sovereignty from the Chinese. They're saying, "Oh, sanctions don't work, and we have to, figure something else." So they're basically, and behind the scenes, they're totally supporting Putin.
I'd
I
like to jump
apologize
in
to
and
those of
just,
you I just let in. John has to pass the co-host, the host status to me so I can record it, and he had turned on the waiting room, and I sort of forgot about that, and I'm sorry I didn't see that I had to do that, but here we are.
Shame on you, Conrad. Shame on you.
Well, we'll straighten it out. Just to sort of
can I just
to
for those of
complete
you
that
who
little
just
discussion, I will
joined-
send after this thing, I'll send everybody a very interesting essay that was published today in England about the deep history of Russia, this spiritual, mystical, and Putin buys into it completely. I mean, his name is even Vladimir, and that was the original sort of the Scandinavian who converted to Christianity way back in the 10th century. I mean, even in two millenniums ago. So this is this is really a whole other way of thinking than we can easily understand. So.
For those of you who just joined, David asked a very interesting question. Is there any ray of hope? Is there any hopeful way we can look at things? And I heard Anthony Blinken say 2 days ago something very hopeful. He said, that what Putin fears most is a strong NATO. And he's exactly creating that.
Yeah.
That NATO has been weak and disorganized and half-hearted since basically its whole existence. And now attacking a country which is right next door to all of those NATO countries is pulling NATO together. A connection that might also be favorable is when we're going to be talking about the next civil war in the United States. This may prevent the United States from breaking apart. Yeah. And that, the parties and the dissident factors in the United States may say, look, we've got an external enemy. We've got to pull together. So that's the first positive thing we can look at. The second is there was a Kenyan ambassador at the United Nations who said something very, very powerful. He said, look, every country boundary in Africa is artificial. We have ethnic groups that are spanning, 2 or 3 different countries, but we don't want to go to war to make sure that one ethnic group is going to be, unified. And that vision seems to be so helpful in, completely destroying Putin's argument that he's reuniting the Russian ethnic group. Anyway, I just wanted to jump in because, David, I think your question was very good. And we have to find some positive way of moving forward.
I also find it encouraging that a lot of the Russian people are protesting.
Yeah.
And saying, hold it, what the hell are you doing? They can't protest too much because they'll wind up in jail, and I don't know, a couple thousand already have. But at least there's a lot of sentiment that the guy is crazy, and he is.
Yeah.
Well, on the negative side, the next move is China goes into Taiwan.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, and
my feeling is that though that there will be a military counterattack at that point. Taiwan has a very strong symbolic status in whereas Ukraine, never really figured as a major player. I don't think that the Western powers can sit by and let Taiwan go, because then, according to a sort of domino theory, next will be Vietnam and Southeast Asia. as Joe was saying, this territorial instinct of China will just reassert itself. And I think the line will stop when they start to try to take over Quemoy and Matsu, for example. That will be unacceptable, and there will be a military response. Joe, what do you think about that? Is that
But we're on two fronts now.
yeah,
We got military maneuvers on two fronts.
yeah.
I
I
mean,
think it's time. I think it's time to attack Murmansk and bring in the northern front.
Right. But the Russians have more icebreakers than we have.
I certainly
Many-
hope so.
Many more.
There's not going to be any more ice. There won't be any
Exactly.
more.
Well,
That's
yeah,
right.
eventually, but they,
You guys want to start the meeting?
sure.
Yeah.
Well, a lot has been happening, sort of almost daily, or multiple times daily, very recently. So, in some sense, there are indications that Exeter may be either on its own, or that the influence of the Cal initiative may have had some effect. But there's movement in a lot of things which we don't fully understand. But I guess to begin with, all of those of you who weren't on it, there was a very interesting meeting organized by Exeter. This thing was sent out for alumni to talk about meeting with Rawson last week, and so and talk about climate is one of the things. So and then I have gotten in the last few days I got an unexpected message from Andrew Tammany that he was interested in, that he and Warren are working on a climate action plan to be prepared, and it's going to include student environmental what first anyway, just things are happening. So we don't
could you share that with the rest of us?
I think I could do that. But I think I'm not going to do it right now because but I'll send that message, and then and he's going to. So yeah, I mean things. It's just I don't know where it's all coming from, and then I guess the other thing to say is that we've established through NAT connection with Ira Helfand, the trustee who will be part of head of the climate group, and he really understands the climate issue, and he wants to work with us.
So are we going to meet with him?
I'm sure eventually we will. Well, here, and so the other thing,
soon, not eventually, soon. Nat, can you arrange?
Nothing has been planned.
Nat, can you arrange a meeting with him?
Well,
If he wants to meet with, if you just said he wants to meet with us, can we do it? Not talk about doing it sometime in the future. Can we just continue to move? Ask him to meet.
I'll say, I can ask him about that, Joe. I mean, he did not say to me that he wanted to meet with our group. Okay.
Oh,
I had one conversation with him to discuss this subject. Generally the subject of climate action at Exeter. This is the first conversation that I've had with him, and he seems very interested. He particularly is interested in climate disruption because, as the person who helped organize the international group of physicians to prevent nuclear war, he understands that climate change may precipitate nuclear war. And so he very much thinks that climate change is something that's got to be worked on. He understands that Exeter's students, current day students, are going to have to deal with climate change, and therefore they need to understand it and become leaders in this effort. And he's all on board with that. So, but he's a relatively new trustee, and so he is still trying to figure out how he can be an effective trustee who can contribute to Exeter. And so we'll see how things go forward. I mean, these are things that don't happen immediately. I mean, it's not immediately.
But can we meet with him if he's
Joe,
very
I will try and do this. Okay, I will try and do this.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
With all deliberate speed, please.
I understand the deliberate speed, Joe. I get that message. Okay.
Thank you.
The world does not
weigh in.
always, the world does not always go along with the deliberate speed that we want. Okay. And
have
if
to
we,
make it.
It doesn't.
and if
make
we
it.
force it too much, that can screw things up. You know, so
Asking for a meeting, I hope, is not forcing it. Okay.
Just as a data
Also,
point,
if he's at the beginning of his tenure and shaping his own view of what as a trustee he is going to do,
Mhm.
that's not a bad time to weigh in.
That's right.
right.
I agree.
Silence.
Joe Simons, you had a comment that got swallowed up.
well, it was a sidebar. There was a wonderful documentary that came out 30 plus years ago called With All Deliberate Speed. And it was based upon, of course, the Brown versus Board of Education ruling, which was a unanimous ruling. You guys probably know about that, 1954. And the Supreme Court's language said, you know, we got to integrate schools with all deliberate speed. Now, I don't think they really understood at the time how that phrase could be misinterpreted, or let's use this word, interpreted.
Mhm.
Because I think the conventional understanding of that word, of that phrase, is as fast as possible, with all deliberate speed. The southern states, however, focused on the word deliberate. And they said, oh, well, we're supposed to deliberate. We can't just do this. We got to take the time. And so they delayed action for decades because of their choice to interpret it. This is just a sidebar about that phrase.
I meant it in a northern sense.
I know. That's why I didn't want to.
All right.
But yes, there is this issue of what constitutes. I mean, Joe, and I say this with respect, enormous respect and appreciation. You're sort of like the lead horse on urgency, which I'm not opposed to. And then I can see Nat as sort of feeling like, okay, if we push this too much, we might, blow it up. And I get that this is complicated. The last person in the world who would be able to know what to do here is me.
If I might, jump in here and just to give a few more details about what I see the next, 4 to 5 months here going on. I mean, there is this meeting on sustainability that Exeter is organizing on March 16th, which many of us have already signed up for. There is also a Climate Day workshop. I may not have the name exactly correct, that is happening on April 25th. That is going to be at Exeter. And as Conrad mentioned earlier, Andrew McTamity, who is the Exeter faculty member who teaches some of the climate change courses and is very, very much involved in this, has sent Conrad an email recently saying that he is going to be working more on curriculum for climate change. Now, we don't know the details about this, but this is something that appears to be one of the new things that Conrad is referring to. And also somewhere in the cards here, potentially, is going to be an announcement that Exeter is going to make possibly in May or possibly in September at the beginning of the next academic year about what Exeter is going to be doing with regard to climate disruption. Now, some of that is going to have to do with the Exeter campus, which may be not our top priority, but nevertheless, it's got to do with climate disruption. And so my feeling is that things are moving in a positive direction. We now know that we have one strong ally on the trustees that we can work with. Also, we have Jenny Wilson, who is at the Kennedy School at Harvard, who's a trustee, Claudine Gay, who's dean of the faculty at Harvard. I just heard her on a Zoom meeting, a large Zoom meeting for Harvard alumni. She is all into climate change, she says, at Harvard. So, she's so that we know that there are 3 Exeter trustees who are very interested in climate change. And can we, take advantage of what we know in that area? Now, again, this is not going to, it's not like we can convene a meeting of these three people tomorrow and say, well, how can we work with you? We've got to work with them as these other, events are going to transpire in the next few months. And, I think that if we, for instance, take attendance, so to speak, at the March 16th meeting, we can find more alumni who can be allies, in what we're working on. And then, we can see, if Exeter is also making moves about curriculum development and making, an announcement from Bill Rawson in the spring, or maybe not until next fall, we can take advantage of those events and then say, well, how can we get in touch with alumni and work with what Exeter is already working on. So this is kind of how I have been thinking about this moving forward in the future, that I think that we're going to have, the wind is at our back is what it feels like to me. And that if we can take advantage of what is going to be happening, then we can move forward in a way which is going to be collaborative. And we're not going to be, seeming like that we're trying to, come in and knock the barn down. So that's the way I've been looking at this.
Can I put some of that in the perspective that I see? Okay.
Go right ahead.
That we're talking, that we've made some contact with Ira Helflin, who is a trustee, who is very interested in climate change, and apparently is appointed as as a lead of three on the committee. John said last time. That is new, and that's good news. And so I think it's not pushing or rocking the boat or exploding anything to ask to meet with him as soon as possible, because this group, is the only group that we know of. Even Rick Almendinger said, this is the only, alumni group that he's experienced that is interested and is trying to take action and come. So I don't think there's anything wrong in asking to meet with Ira Helflin as soon as possible. It's just a talk. Now that is a new thing. The other things you mentioned, okay, that there is going to be Climate Action Day on April 25th. This is not new. Climate Action Day has been a yearly event for how many, or a decade now?
No,
this
5
is not
years.
in,
This will be
okay, 5 years. It's not in response to anything we're doing. It's not, it's just the same old, okay? I mean, it's coming up again. The kids are not involved in it. Andrew McTammany's running it. Nobody knows what's going to, none of us, none of the students know what's going to be involved. So that's going to go. That is not new. The meeting with Andrew McTammany, that is not in response to us or anything else. They do this regularly. They've been doing this since
I disagree with that. I don't think that's true.
Well, okay, just let me finish. You can watch. They're recorded, and I've watched them, and that's where I got those. That's where they said, "Oh, we're going to involve the alumni, Andrew McTammany. He's on record, on tape, and you can watch it in a meeting that's just like the one that's going to come up on March 15. They're doing it again, and he's going to be." He, a year ago, said, oh, we're going to involve alumni. Absolutely, most important to involve alumni. There's been, zero outreach to alumni.
We know how you feel, Joe. I mean, I don't think.
Well, I'm talking not how I feel. I'm talking about what is facts. This is not a new, Nat said, this is something new that's in response to, it's not. And 2 years before that, Biggins gave one, and he said, we're going to put on the curriculum, a core curriculum to make all the students at Exeter literate in sustainability. Okay, this is not new. So it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's not new. It's not in response to anything we're doing. It's saying, yes, should we work with it? Yes. Should we alienate them? No. Nothing we're doing, nothing we're proposing should be alienating anybody. So this whole idea is we can't take another step because we might, ruffle somebody's feathers, I think is holding us back from taking action, and we're just a discussion group. So if we're just a discussion group, I'd like to have the discussion with other alumni. And we've talked about that since September, and we have not made the first effort to bring in another alumnus until, I invited Rick Almendinger. Okay, the first guy, we brought in from outside, from the general alumni. And at the end, does anybody feel that there was anything negative about, having him participate in our last? No, this is exactly what we need. Guys like him. There's others out there. They should be part of what we're doing. We should bring them in. Okay, and we should bring them in as soon as possible. Now it's March. I mean, it's not even February anymore. It's March before we can do anything. We started this in September. We're not bringing other people in. And at the end of that meeting, everybody thanked Richard, I think very sincerely, and said, would you like to, would you be part of our conversation going forward? And he said, yeah, I'm really impressed by your group, blah, blah. I want to. He's not invited to this meeting. Why is he not invited to this meeting today? I'm really nonplussed that, we just blow him off and instead of enlarging this group. So, and we've talked about sending a message out to other alumni, just to say there's a discussion group that wants to talk about climate, not about pushing and forcing anything on it. Are you interested in climate? Join our group. Why can't we do that?
Joe, I disagree with your characterization. I do not want to get into an argument with you about this. I would as far as I'm concerned, I'd like to turn the meeting back over to Conrad for other points that he might like to wish, but I disagree with your characterization.
Of what? Of what?
Well, I think that even though some of the events may be getting repeated from previous years, there has been much more movement at Exeter from what I have seen than the characterization that you have just made. But again, I do not want to get into an argument with you about this right now.
I don't want to argue either. I just want to, make my views stated.
If I can jump in here and get this out of a bilateral discussion. The three letters that make up the acronym for our name are, climate action, leadership. Well, let's lead and let's act. That's all I want to say. And if not, maybe I'm going to depart from this group because I'm leaning in that direction of feeling I don't have time for this shit unless we act, unless we lead, which means take an action. So let's go. Conrad, over to you.
Thank you, Dave.
I will read the email I got from Andrew on Monday. Two short paragraphs. The first one says, just a quick update. Warren Biggins and I have had some excellent conversations with Principal Rawson and the trustees about our work with the school's commitment to sustainability. The next step for the Environmental Sustainability Committee, that's the committee that includes the two he mentioned, and then Betsy Stevens, who's the sustainability coordinator way back before Climate Action Day even started, and then Jason Bermiller and a couple other people. So that sustainability committee will be to create a climate curriculum for the school. Many students have contributed to this already, but there is still more work to do. I see this as a way to overlap and align with Cal. I'll keep you posted as we move forward. And then, he's invited me to do a workshop at Climate Action Day. That's not, but I think that's important. So that's what that was about. And then what I was mention, so the event that Nat mentioned was on you all should have received an email that from Exeter that had a chance to sign up for it. There are currently 14 people signed up already for that work. That it's on March the 16th. Andrew McTammany is one of the 14 names. Of the remaining 13, 7 of them are Climate Action CAL members. And so we've only got there's only a few more that 4 more to go, I guess. So that I think that would be a good way to have a direct interaction with that. And and I think so the tone of everything that I'm seeing is quite a bit more interested in what we're doing than I've seen before. So that's all I want to say.
Guys, I'm going to have to leave you now. I have another Zoom that I have to
Okay,
attend.
we were warned.
But I am in favor of action and leadership. As David said, I think that's good. So have a great continuation, and I'll be at the next meeting.
And the recording will be available later tonight or tomorrow morning. Yeah.
Yes, and I'll be there at March 16th too. I haven't signed up yet, but I'll be good.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye, Peter.
Bye.
Just as a data point, I don't know if this is on the agenda, but it might be in anticipation of reaching out, taking action on the outreach to other alumni. I have compiled a list from various sources, much of which actually came out of the original 2013 environmental stewardship initiative that got going after my presentation. Right now we have 440 some, or something like that, email addresses in this database that's ready to be used if we agree. I think that's where we were going or talking about, to reach out to various classes, and that of this group of 400, Joe had I don't know, 160, or I can't even remember, class agents from
Correspondence,
whatever. I don't even know the difference between a correspondent and agent or anything. But anyway, we had from practically every class, or a whole bunch of classes anyway. So the point is that that's ready, and we haven't done anything with it, but there's also, Conrad has tried this new free email service called Proton Mail, I think it's called.
Proton Mail.
And, yeah, and so what it does is it just gives somebody essentially opportunity to have a free email address, which is not a Google address. So
and it's not a personal address. It's we could make it as a, it could be just a Cal address.
Well, we haven't created one. I mean, he did a test one, but one of the questions then is, well, if we're going to go forward and email these 400 people with some encouragement, perhaps, that they invite others to pass it on, more the merrier, if that's where we're going, we would want an email address that anybody could write back to that wasn't one of ours. So then the question is, what's that address going to be called? And does that address, I'm making up an address just to talk about. I'm not saying it's the right one. I'm not even sure I would vote for it, but if it was CAL Exeter at protonmail.com, then that also kind of somewhat ties us to what we might call, if we get there, but we should be thinking ahead, a web page. So what's the domain name? Is it going to be CAL Exeter or not? And so I think that before we take the next, and then of course we don't have the copy of what is this email going to say? Joe Dwayne sent a sample out. At least I got one, and I don't know if it went to who all. I
haven't seen anything. No, I have
no.
Well,
okay.
For the meeting.
So he can forward it so that you all can see. He took I think what I would say is a fairly short, fast approach, which is, hey, we're doing this. Want to join us? Let us know. Something like that. I don't want to be negative, or Joe, you could say it, but the point is, I'm willing to do the work of getting the email system set up, getting the Proton thing, maybe even eventually, if we decide to go there, set up a web page. I've already reached out to the students. I haven't heard back from them,
right.
Although I did get an email, I think it was today, saying, gee, we got all these exams. We can talk to you in the beginning of March. So we don't have to wait for them, but I was trying to encourage and invite them to be players in this kind of outreach. Maybe the timing isn't, if we wanted to get it out, what is the 24th of February? So, I mean, it's like, what is 4 more days in February? I mean, we could easily get this out. If I had a go decision, I could have this thing out within an hour. But that wouldn't mean we need to have agreement on the copy, possibly a graphic or a logo or a photograph. We have to sort of think, gee, where's this going to go? How big should we be imagining? And therefore, is to me, for example, CAL by itself.
Oh, I thought something was being cooked.
It's not gonna ring anything. Maybe, but on the other hand, if you had an email address that said Climate Action Leadership Exeter, you know, that'd be, of course, most people just gonna click on it, but at least it would say what it is we're doing. So I think what I'm trying to say is, while I may be skilled in offering the technical services, I don't want to take any, I mean, I would like to think that we would have collective responsibility on what is said, who it's being said to, how it's being said, when it's going out, all that kind of stuff. And it seems that we might want to be thinking strategically about what's this going to look like a year from now or 5 years. I mean, we don't want to just do, I don't think that our group, and I'm raising this as a question, wants to just say, oh, we finally convinced Exeter to have a curriculum change that would require all students, starting with freshmen, to take these 1 or 2, let's call them big ass survey interdisciplinary course on climate disruption, and then stop. Is that what we want?
No.
I think we probably want more than that. So how much do we want to prepare for that more now?
I think it's all true, but if we don't take the first step and get this done, if we get that done, other things, that doesn't preclude other things from happening.
Oh, right.
We don't have to spend all our time now thinking about, you know, what's going to happen in 2023 and 2024. Let's get something actually done. So let's, if we don't keep our focus on this, then nothing gets done. So I have sent that, you know, a draft, because I've been waiting and waiting for others to come up with a draft message. This is a very, very simple draft, and Nat said he can't open it, but it's everybody else, it's in Pages. Everybody else should be able to click on it and open it. It's on your email now. Let's take a look at it and say,
Did you
know,
send it today?
Yeah, I sent it right before the meeting.
Okay, well, I haven't seen it yet. So
Well, I'll try and send it again.
no. Well, I mean, if you sent it, I just haven't looked at.
Joe, can you copy it into an email and send the email? Because I tried opening this, you know, this attachment to your email a couple of different ways and I couldn't open it.
Yeah, I don't even see an email from you, Joe.
Well, that's funny.
Okay, guys, I got the email, and I'm going to be sending you all the non-email, the non-pages version of this.
Okay.
So I'll do that right now. Boop, 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 bonk. And the one,
Joe, I got it. It's easy to open, yeah.
You got it?
I did.
All right, so you don't need it. You don't need this from me?
Send the non-pages version.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let me, the one thing that when I did this conversion, it didn't like me to do this.
The subject just says for discussion. And
Right.
then with a document attached.
Yeah, I haven't gotten any. I haven't gotten any email. So.
Okay.
But
All right, I finally figured out to get the graphic in there. So boom, there it goes. So you guys should get this within a few seconds, presumably. And it's basically what Joe did in an email. I just now put it into an email, and it has a graphic that Joe had created as part of this outreach. Do you guys all have it now? Or?
No, I haven't gotten
I
anything.
do, yeah. Yeah.
No,
I still haven't gotten anything.
no, I,
And I got the resend from you, Joe Simon, so I'm all set.
Are you sure my email address is included in the list?
Must be a cyber attack from Russia.
It could be, yeah. I think,
No, actually, I don't see Conrad's there.
Yeah, I do. Conrad is there, yeah, at the end.
Well, Joe, the one that Joe just sent doesn't have Conrad.
Oh, I don't know. I just grabbed whatever was on that.
I mean, if you just do a forward reply all or something, I don't think I'm on it because I haven't received anything from Joe
Well-
Duane or Joe Simons or anything that.
Well, Conrad, you're listed on the email here.
What
You're
is
right.
the time? What is the time of the email that I'm listed on?
7:39 p.m.
I don't have that. I only go to 7:38.
Joe?
7:39 doesn't show up yet.
Yeah, I don't have Joe's, but that's trying to cross the Pacific Ocean.
That's right. And maybe the Russians have cut the underwater internet cable.
Well, they just issued just one paddle, and
Uh-huh.
so you just got this guy paddling.
Well,
That's-
maybe you just read the text, that will not take us so long.
Right, right. I mean, what Joe Duane wrote, is very short, very to the point. I mean, I think we should have something that is got more to it myself, but that's my own opinion. But this is, I mean, I opened it, I can see it, we can talk about it.
Well,
The-
one of the thoughts that I had that Joe, I think rejected, but maybe it's time for us to have discussion, is whether we put the statement of purpose in there.
No, I think the point of this is just to make the existence of this group, make this known to other alumni and invite anyone who is also interested in climate change and education in relation to climate change, who are Exeter alumni, to cordially come participate in a discussion. And so it will reach. It will not. This is not intended to convince other people that climate change is an issue they ought to be concerned about. It's the intent is to reach that number of Exeter alumni who are already interested, who want to do something, who want to get involved. So it's not to bring in 400 people. If we bring in 20 people who are self-selected because they want to get engaged in action like this, then we can talk to them about, geez, what else should we be doing? And how can we best do curriculum? What other things beyond curriculum can we do? What other ideas? It's not for us to foist our ideas on them. It's to get them to help us on this one curriculum project, but then give us their input and their ideas. Like Rick. Now there's a guy who knows more than all of us combined about the science. And about education, and has experience working with Exeter. We can get, just a couple more Ricks, then we're in so much better position. Exeter's in so much better position. And this isn't for us, and it's not for the alumni, it's for the students, and it's for their future. So I think it's the best thing to do. I think if we don't do it,
I
if we
just
don't
read
do
it.
it,
I like it. I like it. It
Thank-
looks good.
Thank you.
Can someone send it to me? I mean, I don't know what I don't understand what's going on. One of the things that we do need to do, by the way, so you saw there was the students did write to some of us in response to this and said, asking for a meeting, and the dates they gave were between March 5th and March 19th, which are 2 Saturdays. And so I said we had a meeting tonight, and we should come up with a date or two to propose to them that we could meet. So if you all want to look at your calendars, I believe yes, so it was the dates they gave were March 5th, which is a Saturday, and March 19th, which is a Saturday. So that's really 2 weeks between 2 Saturdays. And so if you can find, I'd say we want to find a time at 7 o'clock at night on sometime when we can propose for a time or two, and we can meet with them if you want to do that. And if we can agree on a date, I'll send something back to them and say, how's this date work for you?
I sent you the email again, Conrad, just so you should know it's on the way.
Oh,
So did I.
is it called For Discussion?
Yes.
Yeah, I just got it from both. Yeah, okay, here, I see it.
Okay.
I'd vote for March 5th.
I
For
do
a
too.
Saturday?
Yes.
It works for me.
Oh, I see. So the world cannot wait.
We're all having, we've already got the other Zoom at 11 o'clock that morning for our class too, don't forget, on the 5th.
Well, if we're going to do something that both that most of us can do and that Joe Dwayne can do too, it's going to have to be at 7 o'clock at night.
It's fine. I just wanted to point out that there's another Exeter Zoom call at 11 o'clock in the morning on March 5th, Saturday the 5th. 7 o'clock's fine with me that evening.
Well, okay.
I also want to point out, and I'm not a marketing guy, but I have some friends who run businesses that had to expose them to some marketing conditions. And I remember talking to this friend back in the mid-90s. He was running a small business that was part of a national franchise. And so they had support from the national company. And they said, you have to reach out and touch somebody 7 times before they even notice you're there. And I talked to this woman recently, like 5 years ago, and that 7 has gone up to 15. So if you don't touch somebody 15 times, they don't even know you exist. So if we're going to send out an email to 400 people or whatever, we don't just send it out once. We're going to have to send it out every 2 weeks for, I don't know, whatever, just to make sure that we reach people. You know, this is very different than what I think I'm carrying, because I went to Exeter back in the Pleistocene. And so the rules that I operate under is, gee, if somebody sent me a letter or phone call or email, I would write them right back because I'm paying attention. It's a form of respect. But I think people today are so overloaded that they just, you know, boom, 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 don't even read this stuff. Now, hopefully what we're proposing and maybe the way it comes in for them would be more compelling. But I don't think we should just figure we're going to send this out once. Yeah. And we're going to want to encourage these people by sending out updates like, hey, just like Nat was saying and Joe was saying, we got this Climate Action Day, we got things happening about March 15th or 16th, we got something happening in the spring, we got maybe something happening in the summer. We want to hit these people all the time with a little bit of updates so they know that we are really walking our talk and wanting them to join us. And who knows, if money gets involved, we might want to be able to reach out to them and say, look, we finally made a deal with Exeter. The students are going to be in charge of the money. We'd like to raise 50 grand or whatever. And, you know, so we're starting something that's going to require some administration and some thinking. That's
Yeah, I think we definitely, I'm not understanding the idea. I mean, we have gotten together and we put together a document that says what our goals are. We've been following that document. And we've agreed that it's really useful to reach out to people that can help reach those goals.
Yeah.
And Rick Allmendinger was a really good example of the sort of people we want to attract because they know about education and our emphasis is curriculum. Now we're going to leave that aside and we're going to say, no, let's send out a wide invitation to 400 people that are interested in climate change. We got to start discussing this thing all over again. We need to widen the discussion group. Is that really the goal right now, to widen the discussion group? The goal right now is to make the goals we set out for ourselves. And I myself think we're making great progress that way. We will know when we hear what our friend McTamaney is going to be talking about, because what he's going to be talking about this time is for real. It's what's going to the trustees. It's the curriculum component of the climate action plan that's going to the trustees. We're at the crucial moment where we're doing that. And for myself, the one that really knows is Conrad, sees that there's a big change in the way he's approaching this. I mean, he's the one that's been talking to, he can sense there's a big change, enormous change in the whole feeling of it. And we can see it after the meeting with the students. Joe got a reply from the students today. And now we have one trustee that has already said that he considers the curriculum component as important, if not even more important than all the physical stuff. That's Ira Helfand.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about the lead of the advisory group on the trustees, who is talking to us, is going to be in that meeting with McTamaney, and we're going to talk to him right after that. We're right in the middle of this, and now we're going to go off and think we need 400 more people to administer.
No, we don't need 400.
I just don't get it. I don't get it. I think we're just completely losing it.
We don't need 400 more people. We need 10 more Ricks. Okay.
Well, that's completely different, Joe. Joe, that's completely different. You don't send out.
Well, okay, let me just say, okay,
10 Ricks.
Of course we do.
That's not the way you find Ricks. You don't find them sending out 400 emails.
How do we do it?
Well,
what's your idea?
We look very careful.
The question is,
we look very careful through our word of mouth, through our networks. We find the people that are really strong in climate change and in academics. That's what we do, and I think we started doing that, including Rick.
And
so
support
that's a completely different kettle of fish.
Other than Rick, how have we done it? And we haven't brought Rick. We haven't kept Rick in the group here. So
today was maybe we should have invited him today. But there were some. We wanted to talk about goals. I don't know. You could play that one way or the other. I don't think that's. Yeah, I don't think that's a particularly important point, Joe. Seriously.
No, I think it's the exact point.
Well,
not inviting Rick today is a big deal. You think that's a big deal? Honestly, don't think that's a big deal.
In support of what John is saying, I think that, if we do send out an email to a larger group of alumni and we have more detail in it about some of the things that Exeter is working on as proposed by Principal Rawson, but also more detail about what has been done, the discussions that have taken place, the interest that has been shown in curriculum innovation. And if we send out an email like that has more detail to it, first of all, the people who receive the email may think, oh, well, this really is a project that is ongoing. It's not simply, am I interested in climate change at Exeter? So maybe I am a little bit more interested now that I know that Exeter is more serious about this. And if there is detail in it about what's going on with curriculum innovation, people who have some kind of expertise or special interest in curriculum innovation may say, okay, well, I am especially interested in this. And so I do want to have my name included in this going forward. And I think that, if we have more detail in what we send out, which we can know if we wait until, heaven forbid, 2 more months till the end of April, then I think we might get a much better response, from the people who receive what we send out at that time.
And we could also invite them if they're interested. We could say, we'll send you what we've put together as the goals, what we see as the project.
Right. And hopefully by that time, we will have had a conversation with Ira Helfand, and maybe we'll have more of an idea from either Bill Rawson or Ira Helfand or possibly other trustees about, the direction that they're going in, that we can collaborate as well. So that's the way I see this. I mean, I do think that there has been some positive movement from whatever reason, I don't know, recently, and that, we can take advantage of that. But I think that, if we're more focused in how we're approaching this, we may get a better reward.
I think you're right, Nat, and I do think that reaching out to other alumni from other classes, if we can get some people interested and enlisted, we've got more oomph behind us, which I think is really important. Just to get a larger group and to make it harder for whatever naysayers there might be within the academy, within the administration, within the teachers, harder for them to say no. And we already have the students, which I think is critical.
Critical. I think the quality of our ideas and the quality of the team is much more important than the number. It's much more important to have good ideas and for us to hang together and work together than it is to take on a bunch of, to deal and administer a large group of people that we have no idea. We're going to have no say in who's in there. We might end up, it might be an extremely diffuse and who knows what kind of a group is going to attract. I have no idea, but right now we have some criteria as what we want to achieve. That's in those 3 goals we have there. We should focus on that.
I agree with you, John, and I agree with a lot of, Nat made a lot of really good points about the content of this. Where we have a difference of opinion is that we shouldn't do anything for, till sometime in the future, 2 months from now or something like that.
No,
I differ. No, that's what Nat said. So I differ with.
That's not what Nat said either. It's not right. It's mischaracterized. Right now,
yeah, see, I don't think there's much cohesion here. That's what troubles me.
I heard
2
Nat
weeks
say.
away. 2 weeks away, we have a meeting. And it's this crucial meeting where Ira Helfand is going to be there. We're going to hear what their ideas are about curriculum development. What's this?
Ira Helfand's going to be there?
Yes.
We think that Helfand will attend this March 16th event that's
Open to
sponsored by.
all.
Yeah.
Okay. I missed that somehow. I thought it was in McTammany.
Oh, I thought it was clear. It's
No,
clear.
McTammany and well, you I think you sent the thing around. You saw that it's McTammany and Biggins are the Exeter people who are going to have this information session about sustainability. Let me just say a couple things here. The issue, what's unclear to me about what we're talking about is what the so we have a group here now. We have a group of 11 people who are considered the core team of Cal. If we're inviting people to, if we're sending messages out to the alumni community at large, those new people are not going to become members of. What are we proposing to them? That they become part of Cal, or that they endorse what we're doing? Or I mean, it's not at all even clear what we're trying to do. So I think we need to decide collectively what that would be. Then we need to figure out, if I think that the thing that I see that Joe had put together, Dwayne had put together is not I think that we need to say more than that. That's my thing. I think it's way too slim.
I agree.
What I think we then have to decide how we're going to send this out. I would like to have a volunteer when we get around to that point of 2 or perhaps a 3rd person to have this control of this email account where things go out from and come back to. I don't think it should not be the entire Cal team, because we need to have people who can handle the just a small number of people. So we can talk about that. And then and then what do we do? If they write back and say, yes, we're interested. And do we have I know when Joe and I were doing this, Joe Simons and I were doing this with the ESI, we had a form that people could essentially endorse what we had, what was on our website. But then, but beyond that, it wasn't really clear what we were doing. So I think we need to have a much more well-developed idea of what follows, what goes along. And I just think, if we spend, we could decide we needed to get that resolved, and we could have a meeting a week or 2 meetings a week. We could focus on getting all those questions, all those possibilities clarified in our minds, and then do it. But I would be totally against sending out something in the next few days. We're not prepared at all. So and I do want to say one more thing. I thought Allmendinger's what we talked about was interesting, but I was frankly disappointed with his paper, and I'll tell you why. He explained what was going on, but I felt it was essentially not a very positive conclusion that he came to. He was saying, let's not argue over climate change. But what he essentially presented was an argument that we can't do what we need to do. He was arguing about that the way that we need to provide the energy that to run our society is not going to work. And so then he sort of stopped there. And so what I am really interested in is what is the vision that somebody who's concerned about the climate crisis has for what we can do to have something that's worthwhile afterwards. So I think the vision that somebody like Richard Heinberg puts out, which is about how society can change, with different goals and different expectations about what we do, is much more important than Allmendinger's sort of numerical evaluation of what the climate crisis is, because I think it's a very, very partial view of what's important. So
okay, let me just say I frankly agree with your reaction to Rick's paper. Okay, but the point is not just to bring in people who already agree with us. No. Okay, it's to bring in people, and listen to their views, because he's very, very concerned about the climate crisis that's facing humanity. He's concerned of any of it. So the fact that, and I talked to him, at some length about, I didn't get into, challenging his views or anything, but I told him, a couple of things, your whole approach is based upon energy demands staying where they are, and finding some replacement to meet those demands without destroying, the climate. Instead of talking about maybe, we need to change those demands and change our mindset, et cetera. Right. So that's all very true, but we can't just, reject people because,
I wasn't rejecting him. I wasn't rejecting him. I just was saying that I think, we need to be aware of what all the issues are.
I think we need to be open to, where I stand on nuclear, okay? Yeah. But it's an open question. It's an open question, and where I stand on even continuing with fossil fuels to any extent. But it's an open question. There are other people who have different views, and they deserve to be heard, and we need to listen, and we need to take that. We need to keep open minds and not just stay, locked on our views. Anyway, so, but is Ira Helfland going to be in this meeting or not? I didn't get an answer.
If he is, he would be attending it just like the rest of us are. So this is a meeting. Okay. So he will not be presenting. He is not one of the 14 names that when I checked earlier today, he still had not. But something in the way that something was communicated that I think that he knew about the event, and he wanted to I suggest that he was going to attend that event, and that he was hoping that we could talk shortly after that event.
And so the format is like the ones they've done for the last few years.
No, right? It's not. I don't think so.
Joe, we don't know.
We don't know, but it's not like, I think it's more like what we saw just last week, the conversation with Principal Ross, and this time it's going to be the conversation with two people, about talking about the sustainability program at Exeter with questions and more, interactive, I think.
Are questions sent in writing and curated by someone who decides what?
You saw the thing. I don't believe it was made clear. The session with Bill Rawson last week was said, here you have to submit questions by. That was on a Wednesday, Thursday maybe, and they said submit questions by Monday. It turned out that they took questions. A lot of people were, people who were attending. So that wasn't what they described they were going to do. So I don't know how it's going to work.
Sent in, messaged in, is that right?
Well, they didn't. This session doesn't say anything about sending questions ahead of time.
I'm talking about with Rawson.
No, they were verbal questions.
Verbal questions. Yeah. The people just asked. People raise their hand electronically, and ask questions. So that may be the same.
It was a Zoom meeting. It was a Zoom meeting with all.
It was Zoom. It was a Zoom meeting. Yes. So I think that it's going to be more like that.
John, could you send me a link to that March 16th session,
you
please?
You got it already, Whit. It went out in a blast email to all alumni. You've got it already.
Well, I know that, but now.
And I resend it to you, so you can look for, it's in your emails. I'll resend it to you.
We can send it. Any one of us can send it, but here's the catch. If we send you, if we forward something that we received from Exeter, when you go to register, it's going to think you're whoever it was sent. So you have to then change you'll have to update it because it's the message that you got is ready to respond to your.
I'll look for the original then. Thanks.
It came from, but it was not. I can tell you the date it was and what the subject was. I'll look that up.
That'd be helpful.
So you go ahead and I'll find that for you and tell you.
Send it to all of us.
Yes.
Guys, in terms of our outreach, and again, I'm just planting some ideas. We don't obviously not going to do anything this afternoon, but two things. One, a chunk of these email addresses, 100, 200, whatever it is, are to class correspondents. So, and the way the system is set up, if we wanted to send an email just to them, we can do that.
Yeah.
But because that's a slightly different message, I think, than the email that's going to everybody. Because I think the class correspondence, and somebody needs to clarify this, maybe Joe, because you're the one who did it, was to basically say, hey, would you pass this information on to everybody in your class?
We could, that's a possibility.
That's, I think, is the concept there. And then, of course, the other thing is the main message is the one that we haven't yet drafted, but Joe's going to start up on, which is, here's who we are, here's where we're going. We'd like you to at least know about it. If you're interested in contributing in any capacity, your network, some money, your own personal skill set, whatever, send us to this email. But we are not necessarily inviting these guys to join us on a 500-person Zoom call.
No.
We're basically saying, I think, and that's why I'm throwing this out, because I'm not saying that I know what it is. Hey, we want, because Whitney talked, the more people we have, the more it sounds like pressure, and I agree with that. And with everybody else who said, hey, the skill sets are out there. Let's try to get 5 or 10 or whatever number of skill sets we can. That doesn't necessarily mean those extra 10 or 15 people or whatever they are going to be part of this group.
Right. Well,
I don't know what is going to happen, but I think we need to at least be aware that we're not trying to create a massive Zoom discussion thing. We're trying to basically get information out. We're willing to receive some information back from high value added players if they want to participate. And then we'll figure it out what we're going to do after that. But I think if you looked at this as if we were, and I'm not saying we should, but if we were looking at this as an organization, we would basically, the people on this Zoom call, Peter could be, of course, included, would be, let's say, the board of directors, kind of conceptually. And that somebody, either on the board, like one of you, Nat or Conrad or whoever the hell wants, that we all agree, becomes the executive director, which is to say the person who kind of coordinates the meetings and gets things going. And maybe we would even have to have something like, you might call them subcommittees, like Conrad suggested. Well, we don't want to have everybody messing with all these emails. We want 2 or 3 people that just kind of, that's their job. And we might have some other people whose job is to talk to the trustees. And maybe another would be the contact person, or 2 people who talk to the students. And, you know, maybe somebody else who would, or group that might be fundraisers, so that we don't all have to do everything and take forever. I'm just throwing this out as, how do we want to see ourselves 6 months from now, a year from now? I mean, this whole thing got started in 2013, and here it is damn near a decade later. Not much has happened in that interim, but here we are. And I think there's way more interest now because things have gotten worse. So we want to, I think maybe I should say, I think that we should have a long view here. I'd like to see that we are thinking 2, 3, 5 years out. And if we're really successful with Exeter, then we're going to want to see if we can't leverage that into Andover and St. Paul's and whatever else. And then we want to take it up to Exeter, to Harvard and Yale and the next layer out, so that this becomes a all hands on deck by the best schools in the country, recognizing that their fundamental primary role is to develop people who can help manage an existential crisis. Otherwise, why the fuck are you even going to Harvard? So that you can be a hedge fund manager that, you know, when the whole thing falls apart 10 years or 20 years from now, because the whole system doesn't work.
Right.
You know, so I'm just inviting us to think bigger.
Yeah, I support that big. I would like to spend some time having that discussion, but before that, here is the message that you need to look for. It came from Phillips Exeter Academy on February 17th is the date, and it says it's titled Exeter Alumni Newsletter, straight line, February 2022. So, and it's a newsletter with a lot of items in it. And you have to scroll down quite a ways until you find it. There's, under the heading Alumni Events, there was included the Academy update with Principal Rawson. That was February 17th. And then the next one is something about health and wellness, which was 2 days ago. And then there's the thing about identity. And then there's finally Exeter Sustainability Update, Wednesday, March 16th. And there's at the end of a little paragraph describing it, says register here, and you click on that, and that's a button, takes you to a place where you register, and if you're using the email message that you got, it'll know it's you. And then on that same page where you register, you can also click on, say, see who's coming, see who's attending, and you'll open up a big spreadsheet. And currently, when you do it, it opens up, it shows there are 14 people registered, and seven of them are us.
Oh, goodness. So the sender was Phillips Exeter Academy?
The sender was Phillips Exeter Academy. Actually, the email address it came from was, when I look at this, it came from, it's Exeter now at exeter.edu. So but it's identified as Phillips Exeter Academy.
Thank you.
And if you can't find it, let me know, and I can forward my message to you, but then you'll just have to change it to your name when you register, because and there's a way to do that. You just say, no, I'm not coming.
Not in my inbox.
Well, and then you either you didn't get it or you deleted it. It just came. I don't.
I've got it.
Or it went to my forums.
I found it.
It could be.
Found it, Conrad. Thank you.
Okay. So I mean, anybody who didn't get it, I can forward my message, and then you'll just have to change it to say that it's your name when you register, if you want to. If you're not, so that's that. Now, I think this is what Joe went through there, and just sort of a vision of what we might. I think it would be worthwhile spending as much time as those who are interested in it want to in future Zooms, and can be fairly soon, to talk to think about what we want to see in 3 months, in 6 months, in 9 months, and the value of that, in my mind, is thinking of some things and trying to plan so that what we're doing now is consistent with what where we might be able to go, so that we don't have to sort of, you know, back up and do it again. But that's just my sense of.
Okay, in the meantime, we're taking first steps, like, are we going to tell the students that March 5th is the date we'll meet with them?
I'm not a particular, I don't like a Saturday meeting. That doesn't sound like the best to me, but you know, if that's what everybody wants to do, then I guess we can try that. I mean, I would suggest we have more than one date, in case, you know, we could propose that Saturday, and we could propose another date if that doesn't work, and let them choose.
But Conrad, didn't the students said those 2 dates, right?
No, they said between those dates.
Oh, between.
That's the spring break. So you know, I can find that message that was sent. That was
No, I got that wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
But can we go back to them and say the 5th and the 6th?
Well, I wouldn't choose Sunday either. No, I mean,
We did Sunday before, and that worked very well for them. That's what they wanted. That's what they intended, and we did that. And
okay. Let's see. Do we have with the 8 people here? Is that what people want to do, or 7? Is either one of those dates?
Yeah.
5th or 6th. So should we? I'll propose those 2. Anybody? Does that work for everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, when you think about it, the whole reason we're together is because we believe that this is the #1 project, not only for the school, but for the fucking globe.
That's right.
So,
yeah,
so you would think that we could agree on a single date for a couple of hours to push this forward.
I will send them a message later tonight saying we've agreed that the 5th or the 6th.
And if those don't work for you, let us, you know, give us
Right,
some.
exactly. I mean, you know, we basically could do any of the dates between the 5th and the 19th, I think. So.
And Joe, is this time of day good for you, Joe Dwayne?
Yeah, I mean, it's okay for me, and it's any later is I think inconvenient for other people. So
yeah, I mean, this is 7 p.m. for us and 7 a.m. for him. So he's up and we're still up. But you know, 10 o'clock doesn't work so well for anyway. You know.
Right.
Joe, are you 12 hours from
exactly.
us? I thought.
From the East Coast during standard time.
Yeah.
Right.
He's 9 hours from you.
On daylight.
Yeah.
Depending on which way you go. Maybe it's 15 if you go the other way. So, is anybody, I mean, is there interest in spending more time, not right now, but on subsequent calls to try to sort of flesh out these visions? I mean, and I actually think that if we're going to send, if we're talking about getting, you know, doing the first thing, there should be I would like to see another crack at a letter that, you know, a communication that says a little more than the one that the little brief thing that I saw. That was more graphic than there was words, and I just think it could be a little more effective.
That was intentional, just to get people's attention and have people self-select those who are, you know, are not.
Okay, well, I mean, I don't feel that doesn't speak much to me. But if the rest of you like it, then you know, I don't.
No, I like the idea of fleshing that out, and we would it make sense to even say, gee, we're particularly interested in people who have experience in the academic world, academicians.
Maybe, I mean, I suggest that if you, Whit, and Joe, one or both Joes, or if a small group of people want to work collectively to try to, you know, make draft that little letter that and then submit it to the rest of us and say, what do you think of this? That would be fun.
Okay, I'll be part of that team.
Okay,
I'm game, and Joe Dwayne, you should be as well. 3 of us.
So there's a letter committee, the 2 Joes and Whit. Okay, great.
I can change my name. Got 3 Joes.
You could be the third. Yeah, you can be the other Joe.
Well, just before we hang up, I don't know when that's going to be, probably fairly soon. Just keep in mind, all of you, what name do you want to assign to this thing? So like our email address and possibly our webpage, because we're not going to send it out tomorrow. This is great, but
Right.
we still are going to have some of these fundamental pieces in place, and I think the name is important.
I think it is
So-
too. I would suggest that the name Climate Action Leadership is a very strong message, but it's too long to put as the email address. So I think so the trial, when Joe Simons first proposed to me that maybe Proton Mail would be used, he suggested Cal-Exeter, and so I actually tried mine with, I just made mine Cal-Test, I think, didn't I? Or I forget what.
Yeah.
But I mean, so anyway, just a short, and then the letter, whatever is in the text, should explain what Cal means. So I mean,
Right.
and so that's what I would recommend, something like that. That's clean and neat, and
Might get people's attention. What the hell is Cal?
that's right.
University of California.
Well, they would, but it's all capitalized, so it looks a little different from that, perhaps. I mean,
Well, it isn't at UC Berkeley, Cal,
Is it?
CAL, caps, yeah.
okay, well, I mean, whatever, I think the email address at protonmail.com shouldn't be, the characters in front of Proton Mail shouldn't be more than 8 or 10 characters at most. So,
Well, keep in mind that almost nobody types an email address anymore. They just click.
Exactly.
So there may be an advantage to having, or no disadvantage to having a longer name,
Mhm.
because people aren't going to type it; they're just going to click on it. But that said, you guys figure it out.
Yeah. And then we have to figure out if, and Joe Simons, are you also volunteering to be one of the people who will be in charge of the email account at Proton Mail?
Yeah, I'm willing to set the thing up with
Yeah.
MailChimp and all that kind of stuff. But of course, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to be volunteering to read the emails that come in.
Well, that's what I said. So we need to have, what I would like to have is one person has to be in charge for sure, but I think it's too big a job for one person. So if
Right.
there are two people, so two people would have an account. So what I set up to try was, I said I had Cal Test, and I said had an account, and then it asks, when you set it up, it wants to know what is there another email address for confirmation they can use something. So I gave them my email address, and I've noticed that now every time that if there's a message that comes to that account that I set up, it also comes to me, to one of my regular addresses that I've got that I log in. So I haven't integrated the Proton Mail thing into my email system. I just have it separately. I go to the web, and I also have it, and I also get it on my phone. So you can, it was easy to set up, and so you would get a notification. So there should be at least two people who get every message that comes to that address, and then. And then we'd have to have an agreement on, so what are you going to do with those? I mean, when somebody writes back, I mean, do they have, then do we have to capture what, we ask for their information, what do we do? And then, but I think for a while, I mean, we could choose, if somebody writes, answers to our thing, somebody, you could forward a letter to me or to anybody who, and then one of us could write to use our personal mail to write to them directly if we wanted to. We have all options, but all the mail that goes out would go out through that Proton account, and therefore all of the addresses that they're going to have to get imported into that Proton account or whatever. I don't know how you handle that.
No.
Okay. Well, then
there's a way simpler way to do that.
Okay. Well, fine. Then you handle. I don't care. I mean, but they're not going to come. They're not going to come from. They're not going to come from a personal account. They're going to come from Proton Mail.
Right.
Okay.
So actually they're going to come from MailChimp, which has its own system.
Okay.
In the context, in the content of the email, it's going to say, curious, want to talk to us? Are you interested? Here's the email address.
Okay. All right.
Then that's where they would click.
Okay. So, I just think I think we have to set up a system that the people who are operating it understand, and then we have to test it, be sure that it does what we want it to do. And then once we have that set up, and we could, I think it realistically would take a week or more of figuring out seeing what we do, then it could go. If we have the letter we want to send and the system we want to use, and also what we're going to do with it when we get it, when we get the responses. How are we going to collect them and do something meaningful that's meaningful to us and also meaningful to the people who respond. So
that's right. I think it's really important to respond within 24 hours, just to say thanks for your email. And if we only get 5 or 10, that's cool. But if we get 150, then we're going to have a holy shit. This is really a much hotter button than we thought it was. That's a good thing, but how are we going to handle it? So
yeah, and I think you mentioned the message the original message that goes out should say we're sending it to you because you're an Exeter, you have a connection to Exeter. Would you forward this to other people who might be interested? So those other people would have to anyway, we have to be sure that works too. That next layer of and that's where 20 could grow to 200. Quickly.
Well, I mean, if you've got all these class correspondents and they say, sure, I'll send this out to everybody in my class, and I don't know, what is there, 100 and some people, 150 people in a typical class? Well, okay, depending on how many have died and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
There could be a lot of people who
could be a lot of people.
See
so
this
we have to build a system which we know can do whatever we initiate generates then.
Right.
That's all.
Well, just so everybody understands, right now, if a class correspondent in a particular class wants to send out a message to his classmates, it goes through Exeter.
Mm-hmm.
So someone at Exeter is reading whatever it is that goes out. So if we're going to be doing this, if we're going to be asking the class correspondents to do this, I actually think it should go to the class presidents, as the top officer in the class. But anyway, but someone is going to decide. I mean, if a class correspondent gets something from us, if I were a class correspondent and I didn't know anybody in our group, I'd probably call the class president and say, what is this? And how do we know that this is like legit? And do we want to send something out? So there are going to be some questions that people have when they get something from us. And, if it has, some kind of notice in advance from the school, that makes it a little bit easier, just because people don't know that it's not something that's been made up by some fringe group or whatever of Exeter alumni. So anyway, I just think there are other aspects of this that also have to be worked on. But if any kind of blast email goes out to a class, it's going to go through Exeter's system.
Yeah.
So Exeter is going to want to understand what it is it's sending out.
And that reminds me something that I had thought about earlier, and I'll mention it again. It seems to me that if Exeter as an institution is starting to want to move in the direction we're hoping that they will do, that it's not impossible that not too far down from where we are now, that they might decide that it was actually in their interest to have the alumni, to have their email system send out those things. We could produce the material, but then they would send it out. So we wouldn't have to invent a whole system anyway. So I think if we're slower, we may get to the point, we could start doing it ourselves, and then 6 months from now, they may want to do it for us.
Provided they don't exercise any editorial.
Well, that's right. We need to see how that might develop. So we just don't know. I think there are a lot of unknowns here.
Nat, you had some experience doing something like this on the gay issue, did you not?
No, actually, Joe. When I was doing outreach with the gay issue, I developed an email list of my own, independent of Exeter, and I wrote the copy. I sent it out to my email list. Exeter had nothing to do with the distribution that I sent out on gay and lesbians.
How did you develop your list?
Over time. I got the names of people over time. Yeah.
All the people you were on your list were connected with Exeter?
Yes, they were.
Yeah,
they were. Most of them were alumni.
Right.
I mean, I also sent out stuff to class presidents during alumni years, and I got those addresses from the alumni office, and I told the alumni office what I was going to do in advance, but I got the email addresses from the alumni office at that time. It's a little bit different system then than it is today.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you did networking on your own to
Yes.
get
Yeah.
initial names. Then through the academy, you got the class president's
Email.
contact info, email.
Correct.
And then you did contact the class presidents, is that right?
On my own, yes.
Yes, and what did you ask them to use their position to contact others in the class?
No, not. I asked them if they would.
Them as individual presidents.
Well, I contacted individual presidents and I said, you're having a reunion this year. Would you consider having an event for gay alumni in your class? And some of them said no. And some of them said yes. But that's how that went. But and they were not on any kind of interested alumni newsletter. I didn't send out, an interested alumni newsletter to those people. I sent out the interested alumni newsletter to people I knew were gay or supportive of the gay issues at Exeter. So that was a total different, communication, totally different communication. So I think that, what we're talking about here is a couple of different kinds of communication. We may want an interested alumni mailing list, that we're going to keep up to date. And then we may want a sort of administrative mailing list for class officers that we want to, if we, go that route of communicating with each individual class in some way. We may want to do that differently, but if anything goes out to an entire class, that probably is going to be done through Exeter's alumni office, and Exeter is going to be reading whatever it is, yada, yada, yada. Okay.
Yeah. Well, that just what Nat just said reminded me. So we would need to have a way to a database system, but maybe in MailChimp or somewhere to keep track of the different categories of people who responded and how we would. And that's something that if Joe Simons, you're going to do that.
That's all set up.
Okay, so that as long as we have the framework, the structure for handling that.
Well, I'm not going to claim that I'm, the way, the truth, and the light here. I've done this kind of stuff many times, but I would definitely like to have at least one other person to kind of help review this, the structure.
I will help you. You know that.
Yeah, and these structures are very flexible. So if you decide a week later, a month later, or whenever later, oh, gee, we need to add another field to track something, you just add it.
People with dogs.
Fine.
I'm just so grateful that we have a couple of techno savvy people in this group, because I am way behind at times.
Well,
yeah, but the point is, many hands make light work, and this is a no-brainer for me. But the kind of stuff you're doing, Whit, might be a real brainer for me. So thank God you're doing it.
I mean, I could probably help out too, but I don't want to get involved unless, if other people can do it, that would be better.
Well, we haven't done anything yet, so we're getting the stuff lined up, and now I know we've been talking for an hour and a half, so I don't know what the timing is for.
There's no rule. We can go as long as we want. Well,
I'm gonna have to check
I just would like to mention, based on my experience with the gay and lesbian stuff, it does take a lot of work, and it takes focus also to keep things up to date. So I just want people to understand that and it takes work over time. Because once you have a database of people, if you want to keep them involved and you're going to send out newsletters every 6 months, someone's got to write the newsletter. If there are responses to the newsletter, if there are more people coming in and say, "Oh, I just heard about this, I'm interested too." So there's all of that stuff that has to get done, and that takes time and focus. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why it'd be good to have other people join our effort here.
And
well, and keep in mind that.
Just one other thing I wanted to mention. I noticed that we have 2 mainers in this, even in this group of 8 right now. It appears to me that some of the information that you've shared, David, about the main student action, climate action stuff is something that we should be paying a lot of attention to. And I don't know if you alone, or if you and Carl together could take on responsibility for sort of doing whatever needs to be done to be sure that
Well,
that.
Carl and I are putting together our collective hunger and going to have lunch together next week. So
Good.
maybe we can discuss that a bit. But definitely, we've got two people in Maine who are young women who are very activist and very engaged in with young people and climate issues, who are both interested in what we're doing and willing to engage in some way, and are waiting for our lead as to, okay, here's what you might do. And one is incredibly busy because she's got a book coming out at the beginning of May, etc. And the other, though, is basically the sort of young people activist of the Sierra Club in Maine, and very interested in connecting with whatever might be willing to come down to an April 25th meeting or whatever. But she needs some more impetus from us.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, so do you think that she might be, you don't know yet about her possible availability on the 25th of April?
And if there were a concrete thing I could find out.
Well, that's if she was available for sure, what I thought I would do to ask Andrew if he's interested in her doing a work, if there's another workshop slot that he's looking to fill. So I just we're
into a chicken and egg, cart and horse thing here. If there are slots available for the 25th, she seemed very interested in and open to, but I think needs something more concrete.
I'll ask Andrew if there are slots available and let you know.
Okay.
One thing we might do, where I would really hope we would be successful, is to get at least one student to commit to being on these Zoom calls.
On our Cal Zoom calls?
Yeah.
No, that's an idea. Yeah.
Good idea.
Why not? Yeah.
I mean,
good.
I would say at least one, because,
student,
if that person can't make it, well, maybe there's an alternative. Or, I mean, we really want them to know that we're doing this for them. And we, to honor that, we want them to be.
Okay.
Avoided.
I'll propose, I'll ask that question when I send them the dates, the 2 dates that they're going to see if one or more of them wants to step forward, and always be sure that there's at least one that'll be in a call.
That'd be great. I mean, that's A, we cover transparency, and B, they realize we're really, like you say, Joe, we're working for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Good. Well, I'm glad we worked through that tonight. And if there's more that you want to discuss, I think we could certainly fill some more time, but we've already gone. We're beyond an hour and a half. So
I've got to check out. Sorry.
Okay. So I think that's fine.
David.
Good to talk with you all. We'll see you,
Dave.
See you, Dave.
When's our next
All right.
meeting? Saturday.
we don't have
No,
anything.
we don't, but the larger group is meeting Saturday. Is that right?
So a week from Saturday.
It's a week from
The
Saturday for the class
Week
of
from Saturday.
64. It's a week from Saturday.
Okay.
And then
see you then.
And then March 16th for the sustainability thing with Andrew and Warren, and we'll see what comes after that.
I just signed up for the March 16th, Conrad. But I'm going to have to duck out because I have to run a meeting beginning at 7. So
Okay.
Hey, Conrad, could you send that March 16th thing? I didn't.
I'll send it. I'll send it to you.
Thank you.
Anybody else need me to send it? Or I mean, I think the rest of you were maybe all signed up already, but okay, great.
thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Right
everyone.
on. Good morning, Joe.
Yeah.
All
Right.
right.
And I hope you had a good birthday,
Sawadee
Joe.
ka.
Did you have a question, Joe, or just saying bye?
Well, Conrad, you've had communication with Andrew, and so can you share that with us, please?
Yeah, I mean, I read, sure. I mean, I can send that message. Yeah, I'll just forward it to you.
And that one thing, you spoke to this Janie lady who's at Harvard and is head of alumni at Exeter, and every time you've talked about that, you said, well, you spoke to her quite a bit about curriculum, but I've never heard anything So not now, but if there's anything you can share about curriculum, which is what we're, been trying to talk about.
Well, Bill, let me tell you, I'll tell you right now, okay? Jenny Wilson she is president of the General Alumni Association at Exeter, and
Right.
therefore she's also a trustee, and her day job is executive director of the Kennedy School at Harvard.
Right.
Okay, so I called her to take advantage of her connection to the Kennedy School at Harvard. And
Right.
I outlined her, I had a short phone call with her, half an hour maybe. And I told her about Climate Action Leadership Group. I explained that we were interested in curriculum innovation at Exeter. And I asked her what she could tell me about possible courses at the Kennedy School and or Harvard University in general. She gave me a couple of suggestions of websites, to go to. She didn't really have a particular courses. I have not done any further research on this stuff. I was really wanting to, put this particular project on her radar screen. I wasn't really expecting that she was going to be able to give us lots of curriculum ideas, but I wanted to get this at least on her radar screen, and also to give us, some sort of cover, so to speak, that, when Exeter hears about this, oh yeah, that's right, I heard about this, and we know some alumni are working on it, and so forth and so on. So it was kind of like a networking effort on my part, rather than a kind of substantive, a discussion about curriculum activities. Something may come out of it, or from these websites or whatever. But I also think that the maybe the more promising avenue, because Claudine Gay, who is dean of faculty at Harvard, the whole faculty, and is also an Exeter trustee, that if she and Jenny Wilson and Ira Helfand, who I believe is a Harvard alumnus as well, as the head of the climate issues for the Exeter trustees, for the three of them, to be a sort of advocacy group within the trustees for us, that we want to cultivate those relationships too. So
great.
I see this as kind of like a networking issue rather than as a substantive curriculum issue, at least so far.
Again, yeah.
With them. Okay.
I got it. That all sounds really great. That
okay.
sounds wonderful. But those two websites, if you could send them on to me, share them with me.
Oh,
then
okay, fine. All right, well, from the Jenny Wilson's one that I got for her, yeah, sure. You seem to like to do more of that research than I do, but I can find those and send those on to you.
Okay.
It's actually one of them that she mentioned was green.harvard.edu. That's the Office of Sustainability. That really doesn't have to do with curriculum.
Right.
But then also she said that there were courses that were listed by policy topics at the Harvard Kennedy School website. So that's actually as far as I got from a particular website from her. So that's all I can tell you.
You could just paste those into an email. Those
okay. Sure.
Great.
Yep.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Bringing those three together as a group is absolutely terrific.
Well, it hasn't happened yet. I mean, it's just an idea right now.
But that's a potential. That's potential 3 out of 22, and then there's two more people who were supposedly officially on the climate subcommittee, which is probably not those two. So it's anyway. We don't know who the other two are, but we'll find out.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Good night.
Okay. Good night, guys. Good to see you.
Good night. See you later.